Welcome to our podcast. It's not all black and white.
I'm Cera, I'm black.
I'm Matthew, I'm white, and we're the interracial couple. Yeah, so this is the anniversary edition. We have been together now for 3 years.
Amazing 3 years.
It's been amazing, but it hasn't been short. It seems now like a good chunk of our lives have been together.
It does feel long and also not so long. I still remember our first date. I still remember not being my life without you in it, you know.
The good old days, you mean?
The good old...
The glory days that are now behind us.
The glory days of Tinder.
Yeah. So this is kind of also like a Tinder anniversary, like an anniversary of the end of Tinder.
I'm happy I'm not on Tinder. Let's just say that.
Yeah, me too. So how long did it take after we got together that you decided to delete your Tinder account?
Maybe a year.
No.
Yeah.
A year?
6 months.
No, maybe, okay, but that's a big difference.
I just remember it wasn't immediately.
No, definitely not immediately.
You deleted immediately.
No, I did not.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
Week 1.
I have no way of proving that or verifying it, but I don't think it was week 1. I stopped using it week 1, but I didn't delete it.
I didn't stop using it week 1. I still would swipe and
Really?
Yeah, I just go.
How many weeks in?
What?
How many weeks in?
A couple weeks in, but...
Well, we went from 1 year to 6 months to a couple of weeks. Okay, I'm just going to stick with that answer. I like that one better. So we're going to go with that one. So we just had our anniversary, and we decided to re-up the subscription.
Yeah, it was we joked about it all day. Did we want to keep doing this? Be together? And I liked how we did it. More so just because when you're in a long-term relationship, it feels like you've made this long-time commitment. But it was nice for us to joke the entire day, if we really wanted to consciously be together and not just to be assume that we wanted to be together.
Right. And so we ended up actually, I think it's sort of fair to assume, though, the joke of
the joke
month
was
to month.
Month to month, or do you want
to... annual subscription?
And I think there were moments in the day where it was I just want month to month.
but by the end of the day, we both decided we'd go ahead and sign the annual subscription. And then a couple of days later, we realized we'd gone past the cancellation grace period. So we're now in it for the next year at least. So we'll at least have one more anniversary episode. But one of the things that we did that day too was actually we really made it sort of intentional. Let's talk about our relationship. And I thought it was kind of fun because we were having we had a normal day, right? It was a normal work day.
Yeah, we woke up and went to the office just like the usual day. Mm-hmm. But I took a break at 3
to go make yourself pretty for an anniversary.
Not to make myself look pretty for myself. And for dinner. Yeah. I came back home and you were making dinner.
I got dressed up nicely. I made ribs, mashed potatoes, broccoli, and we had our what we call our wine during the week.
Which is sparkling water.
Sparkling water. That's weekday wine. That's when we have to wake up and work the next day. And then... after a lovely meal, you suggested that we just kind of sit down and talk about our relationship, and we didn't go full on sort of lovey-dovey or whatever. We actually made it really intentional, which was really nice.
Because this was how can we make this memorable and intentional? I think after dinner, we sat down and talked about what were the things that we were grateful for, and we admire from each other as a couple.
So let's see, what do I admire? Turns out your legs didn't count.
No,
that didn't count.
That's too cliche.
But I see the first thing that I said was your conviction. Which I really appreciate, the way that when you decide you're going to do something, I guess it's not only conviction, but it is the action and follow through. So there are a lot of people who want to start businesses, for example. And it's really hard to do, and there's ups and downs, and it can be easy to come into doubt. And I've watched you go through your challenges, but you're not doubting what you're doing. Sometimes you're doubting your methods, or you're questioning how to improve how you're doing it. But your why is so strong. Like, you know why you want to start, why you're going to create this business, and it was about bringing, making environmentally healthy and sustainable products while also honoring the people who are doing the work so that it's truly sustainable for the people who are making the stuff as well as the people who are buying it, and for our grandchildren, everyone's great-great-grandchildren, all that stuff. So that conviction of showing up even when things have been really hard, I think is fantastic. That was my first thing that I brought up.
It's nice. Thank you for saying that. I think for me, for you, one of the things that I really admire is how you show up for the people in your life, and that's me and your kids. And I just watched you show up so much for when your twins were, not the twins, but the girls were applying for college, and just showed up to help with the essays when they're having difficulties, to talk to them at all kind of hours. And I was really impressive. I really admire that. And you show up 100% for people that you love and people in your life.
Nice. And then I remember bringing your sense of humor, because we both have a fairly dark sense of humor.
We do. It's terrible.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I also really appreciate with that sense of humor, and this is a little sort of selfish on my part, because I also can make jokes sometimes that are a little questionable. And being able to
joking about dead people,
the dead people, weird, kinky, weird things. That if it's goes too far, you can be okay, that's too far, but without feeling like there's something bad about it. It's okay, that's fine.
We have a very similar sense of humor. It's dry, it's cold, it
can be a little mean.
Yeah.
It can be a little mean.
It's bad.
Yeah. Do you want to do this, even just our anniversary joke? You want to do this again? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think I'm going to go on a month-to-month from here on out, just so as I can get out of this contract at any time.
Yeah, we have. I love our sense of humor,
I love your sense of humor. That was that was the other thing, one of the other of the three things that I mentioned that I really
I think
admire about
the other thing that I mentioned to you that day was how you stay so calm in crisis moment. That if things are shaky and someone comes to you, it's just you're really calm, and you think through it. And I think it comes from, I've seen you meditate over the last 3 years every day, sometimes twice a day. When you get, let's say, a nasty email or something happened, you're fasting. For me, I panic. For you, you go deep. You just I need 5 minutes. I'm going to go meditate before you react. And I just don't have that. I just react. But I also don't meditate every day. So, and you've been meditating, 20 years?
Yeah, well, not every day for 20 years, that's for sure. But it's been part of my life for well over 20 years. Yeah.
But in the last 3 years that we've been together, very few days where you haven't meditated.
Yeah, it's true.
So I really appreciate that aspect of you, and I can also see the effects of long-term meditation in terms of when something happens that you need to deal with.
Right. The other thing that I brought up for you was actually your moral compass. In starting, in starting this business, there are times where, I have to admit, I'm thinking, we can cut a corner here, and you won't do it, which I've, which I just really admire. Even, right now in starting the business, obviously, funding is an issue, and there are grants and stuff that could be applied for, or that you could apply for even, that might be sort of NGO grant money, and you're just that's just against what I want to do. I'm going to spend money and the appropriate amount when I can, not like, can I get this for a little bit cheaper? That's not really the way that you operate. You operate at what's actually fair for this work. And like I said, the other day I was looking at different grants. I was like, this one you could do, right? And you just, no, absolutely not. I just don't want to be a part of that type of system where there's aid money coming, where it's sort of aid money coming back from the West, right? Let's take as much as we can out of Africa and then look like we're being real generous and giving it back. And I don't want to participate in that system. And I think that's really great. I love that. That just your conviction, I think, is fantastic. Well, your conviction, but that moral compass. I know what, I know what's important to me. I know what's important for the people who I work with, the people who I'm going to employ. And I'm going to treat everybody fairly regardless. I think that's really wonderful. And sometimes I even get mad. Like if I see something that's unfair to you, just even kind of like this really small thing. But the other day you prepaid for something for the gym, right? And then the guy was like, as soon as you prepaid, he's like, now actually we're closed, right? And I would be like, well, that's going to teach a lesson. And you're like, no, I'm not going to let someone's sort of bad behavior impact the way that I'm going to treat anybody else. Like that's that person's bad behavior, not everyone's bad behavior. So I'm still going to be, treat everyone with dignity and equanimity. And I think that's wonderful.
Thank you for saying that. I think one of the things is like in terms of like that moral compass in the way I run my business is like I also have been sat in development classes for a very long time. So I know the effect of aid that you do not know. So it's not just coming from anywhere. It's like aid has done some really great things, but mostly I think it's really terrible for the continent and for the country. Mm. And I don't remember the last thing I said about
There's only two things really that are everything else is. I think you like that I cook.
Oh, I did. Yeah. Like that day I came from the salon and
we made delicious ribs.
And there was like the house smelled so delicious. You made like some really good food, but it's not just the cooking; it's the way you do it. It's the effortless. Like it just when I'm cooking, there's like so much stress, and I make such a big deal out of it. But for you, you just go to the kitchen and whip up something really quickly in like 45 minutes, and it tastes delicious. Well, I go to the kitchen and I spend an hour, and like I'm so stressful about it, and like I don't do it graciously and effortlessly, and you just do it with so much grace. So that's one thing I admire about you. There's a lot more that I admire about you.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that. That's good. That bodes well for our renewed subscription.
What else did we talk about?
But then we also brought up, there were two things was that we wanted to change with those shells. Like what was one thing you want to change for yourself, and what's another thing you want to change for the relationship?
What is the one thing that I want to change for myself? I don't remember what we talked about.
I knew for me it was, so you just talked about the way that I deal with stress. When other people have stress, I can be really calm, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like I was on the phone helping Iona apply for colleges, and all of a sudden she gets this big, huge, like red flashing thing, your deadline is passed. Even though everything that she had read said the deadline didn't pass. So she had a mini meltdown, and I was like, okay, we're gonna fix this and get through this. And I feel like this happened a few times since I've been here with the kids, or even with you too, right? You had, there are these times of, oh my gosh, it's some sort of a meltdown, and then say, well, let's let all that stuff go and then see what we're gonna do about it.
I know you.
But anyway, I brought that up because for me, like the big deal stuff, like the house, something getting stolen, being mugged, being, missing some major deadline, particularly if it's for somebody else, like the catastrophe stuff I can stay really calm. But for me, one of the things I wanted to change was that I can react more calmly to the big things than I can, like, I forgot to send somebody an email last night, or, oh my God, I forgot to do this thing, and then I'll beat myself up about it. And so for me, the thing I wanted to change for this year is really, why is the stress coming back? And it's actually stronger now than it's been in a really long time, and I don't know where it's coming from. So that's what I wanted to work on this year.
I think what I wanted to work on for a relationship is in the way I feel like you look at finances. It's like you have a very different way of like, you keep track of things, and I do not keep track of like where money is being spent, which is like really important for my business and also for a relationship. That's what I want to work on.
Yeah.
It's like taking some aspects of like the way you keep records of money and just things that we spend.
Yeah. I think one of the things I wanted to work on in our relationship actually also was like really just continuing to become more and more clear on letting you be as you are, and just really being level-headed about how does it really affect me, and then how do I find a way just to make it work. And I think one of the examples that came up the day before our anniversary was going out to eat. And I know for me, my preference in general would be to go out to eat maybe a little bit more and spend less, to do it more often. But for you, when you go out to eat, you want to be like, let's do it. Let's go to a really nice restaurant, let's have a nice bottle of wine, all of those, those types of things. And I just noticed how I could let it kind of get a little bit under my skin, thinking, I wish you were different and did it more my way. And instead saying, okay, that's the way she does it, and finding a really good balance between making sure that, I'm being honest and honoring what's important to me, that I can either speak that, and that I find a way to respectfully ask for that to come into our relationship more, but then also at the same time fully appreciating that you do it differently or want to do it differently, and allowing that to be perfectly okay. And even just the other day when that happened, when it came up, I could think, oh well, you know what? Now, when the next time comes up or whatever, I'm gonna preempt this a little bit and even have that conversation before we're in the moment, so that I don't have to try and fix something that's different or try and address an issue in the moment, but say, okay, like that's just, she wants to do it this way, I want to do it a different way. We're going to let that be and be totally respectful of that. And then if I want to bring it up later, I can. And I also think that if I make requests when it's not reactionary, then we work really, really well together.
Yeah, I think like that's going to be really important to a relationship, because I'm not going to change in that way, that I still would prefer to go out to like a really nice restaurant, and we could talk about it.
But when you say not change, do you mean like not do it any other way, or be like, that's going to always be my preference? But
that's going to be my preference, but so if you kind of like, I think that's really detrimental to relationships when one partner wants the other to change, because my preference is not, like, I'm not going to stop that.
You're not going to stop preferring one, but I'm going to be open to
I'm going to be open to doing like your way, and then of course, and you're going to be open to doing it my way. Right. So, but it's good to like bring attention to that.
Right.
I think what I talked about for me was complaining. That since like I'm not a complainer, but I've become a complainer. Like I'm starting to complain about small things, and I just hate it so much. Like I feel like I have so much in my life, and like I have my needs covered. Like I have really no reason to complain, and I just don't want it to like be something that becomes now something that I just do unconsciously without knowing that I'm doing it. And I've caught myself a few times complaining about little things, like, I don't know, someone was late a couple minutes, I'm complaining about public transportation, I've been complaining about things that really don't matter.
Right.
And it's something that I really hate to see in others, and I even hate it more to see it in myself. So this year, no more complaining about things that
Does
don't.
it mean you're not going to complain about me either? Because that'd be awesome.
If you haven't shaved for like a week,
Then you're going to start complaining.
then I'm gonna complain.
Yeah. Okay. So that's okay. You can complain about me, just not other things. Yeah.
That matters
Or particularly my appearance.
I have to look at you 24 hours a day. So.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. And then we actually ended that little session with something that I thought was really nice, which was a moment to say what you really wanted the other person to work on. Well, you mentioned that you wanted me to work on my stress. No, what you wanted me to work on. You're like the stress, and actually how if I'm stressing about little things, that it does impact our relationship. Like it's not just totally separate. So if I'm having, if I'm having a stressful day at work, that inevitably and invariably comes into our relationship.
It's really interesting that you don't stress out. You don't get stressed out about crisis. Like you're very calm in crisis, but you sweat small stuff.
Right.
Like you'll sweat if you told someone you're gonna respond to their email and you did not, but your daughter gets in a car accident and you're like really calm, and like just small things. But then you have also like when we're in the office, I sit across from you and I see your facial expression. Then they're so like you have this facial expression when something happens, like someone died. And so I'm always like, what's wrong? But nothing is wrong. You just didn't reply to an email, so.
No, it's not always that. Sometimes there's a challenge. But like when you just talk about my face, like I need to be able to process. And I think that's a little bit different because, you're like, wait, what's going on? I know there's something wrong. It's like, just give me a second to just process this mistake I made or a mistake someone else made. I just need a minute. And then, that said, I think that's a little bit of a different thing, though, than the fact that I can get stressed, and that stress, if it's not processed, so sometimes I'm just processing it.
Okay.
But if it doesn't get processed, then it actually... if I'm sweating the small stuff, it's nice to be able to say, oh, you know what, it doesn't, like, that's just my thing, that's my work thing, but it does come into our relationship, and I think that was what you're trying to say.
I think what I'm trying to say is this, like, if I'm stressed out and something comes up and I have a facial expression, I have the facial expression and I speak about it. But for you, you have the facial expression and you need a minute to process it.
Right, so you're basically saying having an immediate reaction and talking is better than having an immediate reaction.
Yeah, because I don't know who died. Like, I don't know what's going on. And then you tell me and I'm annoyed.
Great, I think, right, exactly. So I think I'm just going to start wearing a bag over my head since we work across from each other on our desk. I'll just wear a bag over my head and you'll be able to see nothing.
Anyway.
Right? Or, even better, Botox. I'm just going to put some Botox right there, lighten this up, so I'm always going to look like everything's always good. Botox. Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything about that.
Okay. So I think what you would like me to work, what I'm understanding that you want me to work on for this year is more Botox in my forehead.
No.
Okay, no?
You can have the Botox if you want. I have nothing against Botox, but what I wanted to work on is like how you react to small
things.
Stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Yep.
So, what do you want me to change?
I don't remember. There was something, and I felt like it was really important to me. It had something to do around listening. But I should listen to you more? Yeah, you should. You should do what I say. Oh. That's exactly what I like. And you need to be more, you just need to work on your wifing skills.
I did not get those.
You didn't get those, I know.
I did not get
It's actually one of the things that I really like about you.
But I don't cook and I don't clean. I do clean. I do clean.
And you do cook, but it was once again, going back to your conviction and like sort of where that came from, like why I don't cook. When you told me why you didn't cook, I was like, that's awesome. And, and it even, the story of, your grandmother saying you have to be able to cook and clean and do all these things if you want to find a good husband. And I've never been a big fan of that particular outlook on relationships and marriage. So, when you told me at 9 years old in the farm in Londiani, I thought, you know what, that's cool. Like I like that. And then, which I also really appreciate is that because I'm perfectly happy doing the cooking, and there was no expectation within our relationship. You were you cook now out of freedom, which I think is awesome.
I think that's what has changed in the last 3 years of being together is like watching you cook effortlessly and without making me feel like I should be in the kitchen with you cooking has made me...
Or instead of me in the kitchen?
Correct. Has made me want to be in the kitchen. So in the last 3 years, I've enjoyed, because that is the one thing was like, I am not going to do it if I'm doing it because I'm supposed to do it and I'm resentful doing it. Now I find myself in the kitchen listening to a podcast or some music and I cook and I clean and there is no resentment, which has been a big change when I'm in my 30s.
Yeah.
In my 20s, I could not go to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Not something else. I went to the kitchen to clean. I've always enjoyed cleaning. I think it's meditative, but cooking just stressed me out. And I felt like as a woman, I needed to be doing it.
Yeah, right.
More like an obligation. Now I cook, it's free.
Yeah.
I feel more free doing it.
So let me ask you then, just kind of like one thing before we wrap up is, after 3 years, what is one thing that has become easier for you in the relationship, and what's one thing that actually might have become a little bit more difficult over time?
Nothing.
Nothing becomes easier?
Nothing becomes easier. Just kidding. I can fart more freely.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
What about you? Like, I just feel like the relationship, like the way we talk to each other, is like, I can say anything to you with knowing that I'm not going to be judged for what I say or what I do. So that has definitely I'm very close to you. So I know that no judgment, nothing. Yeah. So that's easy.
Easier for me?
Nothing.
I can't think of anything that's easier. I think of something that's more difficult. We'll start there.
Okay.
Let's start there. Okay. When there's something that's like a little thing that's important, it feels important, but also feels little. Those can actually be the difficult things to bring up for me or to talk about. Because I was thinking about how early on in our relationship, the stakes were just lower. Like if after 6 months, if I said something or I had a truth that I wanted to share with you and you were like, that's completely not okay with me, I'd be great. No problem. We'll kind of cut our losses before we spend too much on this, on this endeavor. And now I'm like, boy, if I really hurt you or if I make a really big mistake or whatever it is, like now if you leave me while I'm here in Kenya, now what? Like that. So there's something about, there's something that I want to just really be super aware of, which is that as the stakes get higher, I actually have to really focus on making sure that that I'm still okay to be honest enough with what's going on with me to hurt you, even though I know that sometimes that's one of the things in a relationship, right? Is that I will definitely do things or say things that are hurtful.
Just don't say stuff.
Yeah, just be there to be seen. Perfect. Be perfect. Be there, be seen, not heard. Perform well in the bed. Provide good dinners.
Cook good food.
And we'll have
no challenges.
There will be no problems, you're right.
But I agree with you.
I think that's one of the challenges. One of the things that became easier, I also have to agree with you. Like the first night you spent the night at my apartment in California, I think I was a little bit nervous and I had gas and I held it and I had such a bad stomach ache. And now I'm just not nervous anymore. So I don't get stomach aches. And if I was feeling a little bit nervous or whatever, I'd be whatever, fine, I'm just gonna fart. So that's definitely an improvement.
What improvement? That you fart around?
That I fart whenever I want to. That life has gotten better with you because I can fart freely. Yeah, that's definitely I don't know. It's I don't know if that's number one, but it definitely is like a top 10. Definitely a top 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next anniversary, we're gonna talk about how you poop. Wrong me. You haven't done that yet.
No, that's still the one thing. It's funny. It's like the only thing that we don't do together is poop. Pretty much everything else we're all cool with. Yeah.
What else did we talk about?
That's a little TMI, I suppose.
Yeah, I think we should wrap up.
Okay, yeah, I think once we start going here, it's definitely time to. We're going to call it a day. We're going to let this one go, and we'll come and we'll tackle some ridiculous topic again next week.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for listening to us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for tuning in to our podcast. It's Not All Black and White.
I am Cera. I'm black.
I'm Matthew. I'm white. And we're the interracial couple.
Yeah, bye.
See you soon.